Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 448 on our daily updates here. Well, almost daily updates every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for sure. 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard right now, 6:02 California, 4:02 a.m. in Ukraine, and thank you for being here tonight on May the 17th. We've got the full update ready to go with the things that have unfolded over the last 48 hours, and believe me, there has been quite a bit of stuff. So thank you guys for being here. It is much appreciated, much loved, and we thank you for all that you do to assist us, liking, commenting, sharing, giving, donating, Patreoning, etc. Tons of stuff out there that you can do to be a part. But most important, share. Tell others. We're here supporting Ukraine, doing our best to distribute the truth to the world. We're going to start tonight with Bakhmut. And Bakhmut has been an area probably the last 5 to 6 months, the focus of the battles. It has been the epicenter of the battles. It is a symbolic place, symbolic location. Institute for the Study of War came out yesterday with their detailed analysis, and this is a think tank based in the United States, also with representatives from other parts of the world. Very good on their analysis, and they try to look at it straight along without being partisan, without being sided, just so that we can get a fair evaluation of the war. We know that Ukraine has been conducting a counteroffensive, whether they call it that or not. They've liberated 20 square kilometers of ground on the north and the south of Bakhmut, not in the city of Bakhmut, not even on the western side, but on the north flank and the southern flank. This is confirmed by the Institute for the Study of War. However, coming out yesterday, you can see the red box right there, and I can't really zoom in on that for you now, but basically it said we've now reached a place where Russia is pushing back, and they are once again beginning to gain a little bit of ground on the rebound coming back into Bakhmut. So we have that happening. That's coming from the Institute for the Study of War. I remind you, Ukraine has many times said this is not our counteroffensive. We're just pushing back on Bakhmut under normal military conditions, and we're having some success. Yes, we are having some success, and it is good. But Institute for the Study of War says Russia, it's obviously reinforcing. Obviously, we are getting some clarity on the Wagner position, and they are beginning to push back. In fact, this is the information coming out today, 2:12 in the afternoon, and this is from Malyar, who is the deputy defense minister. And of course, that's written in Ukrainian, but I've translated it there for you into some red. She confirms 3 things. Number 1, yes. And this is interesting because this came out after the Institute for the Study of War gave their analysis. She said, for sure, we have liberated 20 kilometers square of territory on the north and the south of Bakhmut area. Secondly, she says, we continue to make progress and push on. She then confirms Institute for the Study of War. She says, inside Bakhmut, it's very fierce, and the enemy advances somewhat. So, as we've always talked about, as we try to tell the truth, this is a war that the front is fluid. It doesn't move a lot, but it will move back and forth within a few kilometers, depending on who is pushing at a certain moment. It's basically a stalemate, but this is the most accurate update on Bakhmut right now. I do today have some fresh drone aerial footage out of Bakhmut. I'm going to roll that for you now. This is today, just smoke, destruction. You can see up in the upper left the name of the location, Bakhmut. You can see everything destroyed. We've used this phrase many times, just a very apocalyptic scene. Just think of all the thousands of lives. Remember, pre-war Bakhmut, 75 to 80,000 people. Wherever you live today, think about the population of your town or population of a city that you know, 75, 80,000 people. It's not small. Can't even see the ground due to the smoke. Where is all that smoke coming from? It's coming from the incendiary phosphorus munitions that Russia continues to drop onto Bakhmut. Not only Bakhmut, last night they began raining incendiary munitions down on this area, Kherson. Now, I have quite a few places circled here. This would be southern Ukraine. Bottom left, you see the Black Sea. You see the Sea of Azov. In the gray between those two seas is, of course, Crimea, Russia to the right. And then you see the yellow representing mainland Ukraine. You have Odessa to the left, which right now has been under heavy missile attack for the last few hours. There are arrivals. You have Mykolaiv, Kherson, Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, Zaporozhye to the right. Of course, Mariupol occupied down on the sea, Donetsk and Lugansk. These are the areas all through this south and through this eastern region. Now, Mykolaiv, over the last 3 or 4 days, has been struck very heavily, constantly. S-300s, S-400s, caliber class missiles, and long-range shelling. It has been tore up. Kherson this morning, a young child lost their life as they were out just in front of their apartment building. They were shelled and killed. Here's some video coming from the regional administration of Mykolaiv, showing us some of the damage today. Video from today in Mykolaiv. This is a automotive business center. There was a nearby school. There were homes. This was a caliber class cruise missile. It landed. It just destroyed blocks and blocks. That's on the corner of a residential building. Lost the whole section. Just gives you a look into what happens every night all throughout Ukraine. That was Mykolaiv. You know, this is why we came out a few days ago and kind of lost our minds with Robert F. Kennedy and the numbers that he gave. 300,000 Ukrainian soldiers that we had killed. You can go back a few days and see that episode if you want some entertainment. And 14,000 citizens. This is why we continue to say that number is absurd. How many people died in Mykolaiv last night and this morning? We do not know yet. Every day, when we look at this map here, every day, Odessa now being hit, Kyiv being hit up north, Mykolaiv, Kherson, that entire river bottom there from Kherson all the way to Zaporizhia, every town along that river is shelled every day. People die every day. Zaporizhia, of course. Then you move up into that eastern region with Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast. And then, of course, you're into the Bakhmut area, Avdiivka, Ugledar. It's very ugly. Very ugly. And it's happening every day. I do not believe that Ukraine releases all of the most accurate numbers, even themselves, to be quite honest. And you guys know we're 100% in support of Ukraine, but I think if they did, it would be overwhelming and cause panic. That's just my personal opinion, because I know the terrain. I know these cities. I know how people live. I know they're in these buildings. And they're not outside much of the time. These buildings are being hit. They're collapsing. People are dying. That's what happens. So we continue to do our part and support and tell the truth. Now, Russia has changed their tactics over the last 2 or 3 days, and this also reported today by Deputy Defense Minister Malyar. If you look up there in the blue, you can see her name there, Gaina Malyar. She reports that the area throughout Ukraine right now with the most shelling is actually not in Mykolaiv. It's not in Kherson. It's not anywhere in the south, but actually the place of the heaviest shelling and bombing right now is in the north. It's in Chernihiv, it's in Sumy, and it's in Kharkiv. That is what she has reported, and that is what Ukraine is saying. So I have a map here representing that for you. You can see, in fact, I'll take this full screen for you for a moment. You can see the war, the front lines, the red zones there stretching from the very south, just to the right of Odessa, Kherson, wrapping up just like the map we were showing. Of course, Crimea wraps all the way around up to just east of Kharkiv. But right now, the most active places for shelling and bombing is in the north. It would be the Chernihiv region, Sumy, and Kharkiv. That black, I outlined it in black. Of course, that borders against Russia, and that borders against Belarus. She came out today and said it's overwhelming how much shelling. And then she goes on to explain in this news release that she sent out that says, listen, the reason this is happening is Russia is trying to keep our troops, expend our shells on the north, because everybody knows we're coming with a counteroffensive, the south and the east. So the more that they can drain us in the north, hold our troops there, hold us in the northwest region, Volyn, fire some stuff out of Transnistria down in Moldova. We have to pay attention to that. We're spread thin at that point. So be aware, it is heating up very, very much in the Chernihiv, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions here represented in the yellow. Now, over the last couple of days, you've heard a lot about Patriot systems. We have waited. We have confirmed. The guy that you see on the right, in fact, this is the title of the program and the update tonight, the Patriot, what's happening in Ukraine. I can tell you that the Patriots are working. They are working. They have shot down the Kinjal hypersonic missiles. These are facts. In fact, today, very interesting, 3 of the designers of the Kinjal missile systems have been put into prison. They've been arrested, of course, probably because the Kinjals, the daggers, are not giving the specs that they're supposed to, or there must be a scapegoat. How are our Kinjals being shot down by that ancient Patriot system? Patriot system began to be developed in 1969. Of course, it's been modernized throughout years and years. But how is that happening? Well, Russia has been responding to that and bombing missiles, drones very heavily, especially in the Kyiv region for nights and nights. I'm sure it will happen again tonight. They're going after the Patriot systems. So the rumors started flying. The Patriot's been destroyed. I'm here to confirm to you tonight that a Patriot system in Kyiv has not been destroyed. Period. Then the next thing you hear coming out of Russia, well, all they said was it destroyed. Then you hear it was damaged. And we waited on that. But now, today, we do have confirmation from the Ukrainian side, from the American side. The Patriot system was damaged from a Russian strike in Kyiv. Now, the damage is minimal. The radar unit was not damaged, which would be the most important part or the most complicated to repair or to fix or to replace It's intact. The Patriot system is a multi-unit system. The damage that was done can be repaired inside Ukraine. So the Patriot system does not have to leave Ukraine and be repaired in Europe. It can be repaired safely. Well, I don't know how safe. It's a war zone, but safely there in Ukraine and stay on the battlefield. So the truth on the Patriot is this. A, it is helping defend the skies over Ukraine. B, it did shoot down hypersonic missiles, 6 of them. 3, it was damaged mildly by a Russian strike. They knew the location of it. Now, we're going to talk about that more right now. Danilov came out, and Ukraine is getting very, very, very serious with social media. They're getting very serious with YouTube. I hope you guys trust us. Everything that we show, we always know the time has passed that we are able to show it. Honest to goodness, folks, I have so much media from our friends, our personal friends. I could put you right on the battlefield right now and show you positions of Ukrainian soldiers, groups, battalions, brigades right this very second. I could go. I'm getting ready to come over here in a second, but I could go right to this screen, pull it all up for you, and show you everything. We do not do that. These are our friends that are there in these frontline positions. However, many Ukrainians are showing locations. For many of them, it's a joke. Some are using it as collaboration. Some are doing it out of sheer ignorance. In fact, right now on YouTube, positions are given away. Danilov came out and says, we're done with this. Ukraine's parliament passed a new law. And if you are found guilty of now sharing locations of active Ukrainian military positions, there are things that we show sometimes when we blur out the location. That's cool. No problem. But when you're showing unfiltered video, live positions, well, here comes a Patriot driving down the road. It's easy to geotag that. And believe me, these things go down the road when you're on the front. You can be riding there. It could be in Kyiv. It doesn't even have to necessarily be on the front, but of course, much more active on the front. It's nothing to see HIMARS go past you. It's nothing to see a Patriot system go past you being relocated, to see this column of tanks, these troop carriers. You could post the location instantly, and Russia is using this. They have the best in the world propaganda, the best in the world system of data recovery, monitoring of social media, monitoring of the data. They're out there. Of course, the FBI, the NSA, CIA, we do our stuff. MI6 does their stuff. The SBU in Ukraine does their stuff. But a lot of people learn their lessons from how the Kremlin and Russia does this. So they're watching everything. Long story short, if you're found guilty, of which they're finding them left and right now. In fact, right now in Ukraine, the big story is a Ukrainian pop star was able to get a pass to move through the city after curfew, gave it to his wife, and she's driving around posting pictures of a bridge that's forbidden to be on. Well, she's now in big trouble. For many people, this is still a joke, and I don't really understand how. And then, of course, you have the collaboration side. But media it's forbidden now. There's a statute, and 5 to 8 years in prison. How about that for you? 5 to 8 years in prison for sharing wrong information that can be detrimental to Ukraine in this war. So with that said, let's jump over here a second. This is some of the stuff let me just explain this to you. Here you go. Let's go here. And I'm just at a basic YouTube search I've pulled up. You see all this stuff here, live, whatever. Let's just go here. A live broadcast at night. Look at this, folks. Go to YouTube. You can see it for yourself. Kremenchuk, Bakhmut, Zaporizhia, Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kremenchuk, Kryvyi Rog, Komsomolsk, Kharkiv, Kiev, Pokrovsk, Yavoriv, Zaporizhia, Slavyansk. Now, of course, it's nighttime there, middle of the night. And if it's daytime, this stuff is just lit up and you can see locations. So let's say there's a response that goes out. In fact, look at this one. Given the times, I mean, it's madness. Danilov said this has to stop. Look, here's one. Oh, let's do this one right now. Crimea, Donetsk, Simferopol. This is showing occupied territory. People chatting. Look at this. Oh, sorry. And folks, these are on here. Go back to this one right here. You see all these feeds. Okay. People chatting about it, about the positions, about different cities. Okay. So you say, well, what's the problem here? Well, the problem is there are people in these cities, Ukrainians, that are broadcasting these positions. And these are live. Let's say there's a response and you didn't know there's a piece of equipment they're defending. These are some frontline areas. Okay. Russia is watching this. I guarantee you, Russia's watching this feed. Somebody's sitting there watching this YouTube feed. And all they have to do, they see it, they start it, analysis, and they're rolling with it. This right here, Ukraine is battling against, and they're trying to get rid of it. So we shall see what'll unfold from it, but it is a major, major problem in Ukraine right now. Now, another issue we are looking at, and this just came out last night, 30 days, Ukraine's fuel supply. This is from the energy secretary there in Ukraine. He says, we have a 30-day supply. Out to 60, we will struggle, and after 90 days, we're going to be out. So remember at the beginning of war, Ukraine was struggling with fuel supplies and getting fuel to the proper places. Well, we are seeing this again now, especially as we're moving into the summer season. You know, this is the danger of even when places like the United States and that guy from Delaware that is depleting our strategic oil reserves because they can't see tomorrow. They can't see a week ahead. They unable to do that. I'll leave it there. This is what Ukraine is facing. They do not have reserves. They do not have strategic reserves out, forecasting that if there is a war, forecasting that if there is a problem, forecasting if there's a natural disaster. Now, the energy secretary says we've got to come up with a solution, and we will, but we do have a problem with energy supplies. Today, Dmitry Kuleba met with Chinese envoys in China, coming and saying, listen, we will be happy to work on a peace plan or maybe help negotiate things as we can. And Kuleba made it very clear in this meeting. On the right, you can see the Chinese delegation. On the left, you can see Kuleba and the Ukrainian delegation, the flags back there. Kuleba made it point blank clear. He says, listen, we appreciate any help you want to give us, help you will not give Russia. But if you have anything in your mind that you want to suggest the giving up of 1 square meter of our land, this meeting is a waste of time. I reiterate today, we will not negotiate for our sovereign territory. We will fight until the very end. So this was happening today in Ukraine as well. Orban in Hungary. EU and NATO have become a de facto party to the war in Ukraine. We are taken where we do not want to be. Orban saying, Hungary, no more will do this. Right now, new sanctions are being volleyed about in the EU. Orban says Hungary will veto them. Additionally, EU volleying around the idea of more aid to Ukraine. Hungary and Orban said, we will veto it. And it's not just Orban, folks. It's many in his government coming out and saying, we're done with this war. And you see, this is a tragic flaw, actually. We're not here to do analysis of the European Union, but this is a tragic flaw of the European Union because you have a consolidation of sovereign nations coming together and then trying, when you come to the place where you've got to make landmark decisions on global issues, you have complete different mindsets, different viewpoints, different backgrounds, different histories. And sometimes it's just too far apart to bring the tables together. Hungary, absolutely, under Orban, pro-Kremlin, pro-Russia, and they've done their best to straddle the fence, do a little bit here, do a little bit there, but make no mistake about it. He says, we're done with this. We're being drugged in places that we do not want to go. And as the war extends further, I believe we're going to see more of this, and not only from Hungary, but we're going to see it from other nations as well. We'll see. For example, Britain will not transfer F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace. Germany today coming out saying no airplanes. And not even F-16s, no airplanes. And the reason for no airplanes, Germany says, we're focused on it trying to help on the ground. Tanks, supplies, repairs. Poland, no F-16s. We've given MiG-29s, Duda said, but the F-16s are not going to happen. Netherlands, we're working on it. But as of right now, no. You know, the news coming out the last 24, 48 hours was about this airplane coalition coming together and supplying Ukraine with F-16s. So it's not going to happen. Not now and not anytime in the near future. So Ukraine not too hip on that today, but it's just not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. This is what this is why I said it's not just going to be nations like Hungary, but it'll be other nations that are supportive of Ukraine, but there will be limitations. And I personally believe that's why Russia is trying to drag this out more and more and more. The longer they drag it out, the more destabilized potentially the world will come to. We know that the United States, after a 2024 election, however the United States goes, the support for Ukraine may be different. It may be different come this fall. Right now, we're trying in the United States not to default on our debt. Our nation is in serious trouble. And I am 100% in favor of supporting Ukraine. At the same time, we have to take care of our nation as well, our southern border being overran. We just are living in a world of chaos right now, and this is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants. This is exactly what the Kremlin wants. They want the world in chaos. And more importantly than that, I'm going to tell you who really wants the world in chaos. It's not just Vladimir or Volva. It's Xi Jinping. China wants the world in as much chaos as possible. Why? Because they will make money off of the chaos. They'll make money, let's call it the good and the bad. China will make money on the good side. China will make money on the bad side. They don't care. The chaos, the destabilization plays right into the hands of the axis of evil. You know, the Irans, the Russias, the Chinas, the North Koreas. It doesn't help the allies, if that's what we're calling it, Axis and allies. It doesn't help Europe. It doesn't help the U.S. It doesn't help Australia. We exist in chaos due to this. The other nations, the other side going, no problem. Let it stretch out. We're rolling the money. That's where we're at. Now, I don't just say this stuff about Britain not transferring the F-16 jets out of the blue. I've got video tonight, Ben Wallace himself, and ready to go. I'll show you this before we check out tonight. Here you go, Ben Wallace.
Well, first of all, Britain isn't going to donate any fighter jets to Ukraine at this time. Typhoon we've been consistent in saying we're not going to.
All right, I'm going to run that back and play it one more time because he goes right into it. He's got that accent there. He says he's looking for, the right time to start his press statement. He says, all right, Britain is not going to donate airplanes at this time. He starts talking about the Typhoons. But here you go. Same thing again, Ben Wallace.
Well, first of all, Britain isn't going to donate any fighter jets to Ukraine at this time. Typhoon we've been consistent in saying we're not going to deliver Typhoon Tranche 1. Is not a plane that would be suitable, but also we make the clear point that this is not about gifting weapon systems. This is gifting a platform, and with that, if anyone follows Formula One, you don't just gift a car; you have to gift a pit team of hundreds of people. And none of us standing here, no European nation is going to put British forces or British Air Force personnel into Ukraine in the middle of that war zone. We've always been clear on that. What we are talking about, and it links to the earlier question, is resilience of Ukraine. How can Ukraine stand firm after this? How they can deter, and they will need more fighter capability. So starting the basics of helping train cohorts of Ukrainians for the long term to fly aircraft, whichever aircraft they choose to buy or develop, is what's important now to discuss. And, Ukraine have expressed, I think, a preference for F-16s. We don't hold those in our inventory.
So there you have it. That's directly from Ben Wallace. Quite a few things in that minute. You guys thought I was just going to show you that little clip at the beginning. No, I've got more. He said, we're not giving airplanes at this time, Typhoons. He then made a reference to Formula One racing, that if you give a racing car, well, you just don't give the racing car. You've got the pit crew, you've got the mechanics crew, you've got the whole structure that makes it work. It's the same thing with an airplane. You can't just go train a pilot in some foreign nation and give them an airplane. Who's going to service it? Who's going to fuel it? Who's going to load it? Who's going to do all of the things that are necessary to make it? The pilot's just one piece of the puzzle. Of course, a very important piece of the puzzle, but only a piece of the puzzle. Secondly, he says, we're definitely not going to put our troops into an active war zone. Therefore, meaning we're not just going to train their pilots and then we'll supply the plane and supply the maintenance. That's not going to happen. Thirdly, he says, did you hear? He says, we just want to help them be resilient and be able to deter the Russian invasion. Deter in the future. And I'm almost quoting here because I've listened to this about 10 times today. In the future, Ukraine can determine which platform they are interested in, and they can purchase them. I don't know what they're going to purchase them with. They have no money, which is a tragedy in itself. Not for Ukraine. Don't misunderstand me here. They're now reaping a lot of the corruption that Zelensky is battling. It's just a mess. So they can buy it any platform they choose. And hearing me said, you've heard about the F-16s? Well, that's not even a platform we have in Great Britain. So, listen, as Great Britain goes, as the United States goes, this is how many of these other nations will go as well. I would put Germany up there. As Germany goes, they will trigger other nations. It was Great Britain that gave those Storm Shadow missiles, and then France, what do they call the Scalps? Decided to give some. So we'll see. This is why I always encourage everyone, check your headlines, but folks, most of the time they're wrong. Most of the time on every platform, they're just wrong Because if you read, the news over the last 24 hours, everybody's so pumped up. The airplanes are coming. We've got a coalition of airplanes. And that's the news. It's not what Ben Wallace said today. It's not what Germany said today. It's not what the Netherlands said today. It's not what France said today. So we shall see. As I have shared and will continue to share, the best thing we can do is watch, analyze, project how we can, but observe the facts as they unfold. So, folks, that's where we're at tonight. Day 448. You can consider yourself fully updated to the moment right now. There are some random air raid attacks in Ukraine right now. Kyiv stays under air alarm. Odessa. There are 10 Tupolev 95s in the air, 4 Tupolev 22s in the air. There are regions under alarm. Tupolevs are coming from eastern region in Russia. So we're going to be under air alarm through most of the night into the wee hours of the morning in Ukraine. And Kharkiv explosions right now. Rocket launches coming out of Belgorod right now. Kherson under shelling right now. Mykolaiv under Shaheeds right now. Explosions in Odessa right now. It's what happens every day. Every day. That's why we're here, folks. Thank you for being here. Thank you for continuing to like and support, share, comment, be a part. We're doing our best to share the truth. Jump in the Patreon. A lot of fun there. I posted a really interesting video today. Frontline battle in Bakhmut. I had no way I could show that one on YouTube, but really good. Really good. Some incredible heroes there fighting. You guys be blessed, and we will see you in 48 hours, if not sooner. Have a great Wednesday night or Thursday, wherever you're at. Good night.